Good evening, hello there, welcome to episode 16 of the Rugby Nats Chat Show. I hope you had a lovely Christmas. I know I had a nice break and we're back here again at Reading, only this time in the changing room. Apparently we're not good enough for the main clubhouse. But over Christmas, Mike, I sent you a interesting link to an American study about children leaving sport.
Yeah.
The report was done by somebody in America. It wasn't just looking at the obvious American sports like baseball or American football. It was across the whole piece.
Yeah, it was an absolute cross section. Yeah.
And it was really interesting. The only growth one with youngsters was football and ice hockey. Ice hockey predominantly.
Yeah, and football was actually starting to suffer. There'd been a decline in the numbers of football. I mean, although it applied to America, I mean, I think that what happens across the pond today tends to happen here.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up, because it was a subject that back in the day when I used to teach safeguarding for the RFU and also at my own club was spoken about a lot, was this report, I hasten to add, talks about youngsters being driven away from sport by overly pushy coaches and particularly demanding parents. And it was always on my radar. It was brought up on these courses all the time, and you know, part of the safeguarding process, reporting or challenging that type of behaviour was brought in. And I think to be fair, rugby was a long way ahead of other sports for sort of championing challenging poor behaviour or bad coaching practices. And I know at my club and most clubs I visit these days, I very rarely see it. I've always got my radar on at tournaments and stuff for that, and occasionally you hear somebody getting a little bit carried away, but I'm really interested to read that it's got to the stage in America where it's actually become part of a national study, and the study has actually found that it is driving kids away from sport.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very extensive struggle. An extensive program and study looking throughout age group sports in America, and as you said, a variety of sports. And they questioned the children themselves, which I think we probably very rarely do, any of us. You know, what drives them, what are they interested in? And number one of the list was actually just playing the game. They just enjoyed playing the game, playing with their friends, playing regularly, and being really applauded for their efforts and just giving their best. So this idea that they want to win all the time, in fact, is something perhaps that adults invent, because in the survey that was conducted, I think that came 43rd on their list.
43rd. The children had a tick box thing about what they wanted to get out of sport. And unbelievably, winning came 43rd in the list.
Yeah. As you said, I think with rugby over here, I think we woke up a lot earlier in comparison with other sports. Firstly, the introduction of, say, small-sided games, so that there was mass participation. Evidently, that is only starting to occur in America now. And oddly enough, it's ice hockey. Where they're making advances, their numbers are growing.
But they've done that through small games. Splitting the rink into two and all that sort of stuff.
And I think rugby were ahead on most sports over here doing that. And I think that the RFU, I know they came under for immense criticism, but I personally agreed with what they were doing, was saying really below a certain age group, there's no competition.
Yeah,
you just go out and play. Yeah, you just go out and play, you enjoy the game. And I know there was uproar. And still now, I think they're the sort of snidey, sniggering remarks. Oh, well, they've got to learn to win and lose. Well, no, they've got to learn actually how to enjoy a game, how to develop their skills, and we want them to come back every week. And I think that you know, coaches, we've all done it. I've done it. I put my hand up where you put too much pressure on the children. You know, you think they want to win, where in fact no, they just want their game. And I think as the years have rolled past, I've come to realise that, and you see it at all levels of the game. I mean, some teams, some of the sides actually have the poorest playing records are the ones that stick together,
and
keep
the kids
going,
have a great time
and stay in the game.
It's quite interesting actually, because when that was introduced, the season before last, or was it last season?
No, two seasons ago. Wasn't it? Yeah.
We had a new head coach at Windsor, and he'd never experienced our tournament where we have sort of like 1,300 kids. And it was a no-win tournament, so for the first year we had no medals, no prize giving at the end of the day, no keeping scores, no league tables in the tents and all that sort of stuff. And I asked him to come down on the Sunday and A, to see the scale of the place, and secondly just to go and see how this was getting on, because he, like me, was quite sceptical about it all. And God, it was really quite amazing, because we did a tour of all the age groups, and we spoke to the men and women that were volunteering the score tents for each age group and all the rest of it. And overwhelmingly, the feedback was that the stress levels were low, because you haven't got coaches coming up saying, oh, we only got 2 points for that game, we should have got one. No, we were 10 points ahead in that game, and that's going to affect us at the end. And the whole thing was chilled, laid back. And then talking to some of the coaches, particularly with the older age groups, it was with younger age groups, sorry, it was really quite interesting, because 2 or 3 of the coaches were saying, do you know what, I actually get this now, because I'm not looking at my subs bench thinking, who can I bring on to ensure we win, or whatever. I'm actually looking at the subs bench thinking, I wonder who hasn't played much.
Yeah.
Who needs to go on to have a run, or whatever.
And I think personally, that's the right way, to conduct affairs, is to give the squad mass participation. They're all getting rugby. They're all getting time.
But I do think they need to learn how to win and lose. But I think on their terms.
I think so. But I think it got to a stage in rugby whereby the league or the competition, the tournament, was more important than the game.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter how you won, but you had to win. I mean, I've seen teams that, 13, 14, put their biggest player at fly half. Why? Well, he was going to get the ball. The fact he couldn't pass, he couldn't kick was irrelevant. What he could do was actually just run through the opposition. Yeah. And to me, the game was secondary. It was the whole point of winning. So I think the RFU have changed it. I think it's still, I'm not as... I still have seen instances where there is this win-win-win, but I think it's steadying out a lot more.
Yeah, I think it definitely is, and we're not here to sort of trumpet how wonderful rugby is, although it's nice to give ourselves a pat on the back every now and then. But unfortunately, I've had quite a lot of watching the round ball game. I'm embarrassed to admit on air. My daughter plays at quite a good level, but I've been watching her since she was 10, and there's definitely cleaning up a little bit at football, even with girls' football. When I first started watching, sort of 9 years ago, it was pretty poor, and I really didn't watch. I used to just sort of like walk away or try and find a tea hut or something, because I couldn't stand sitting there listening to the rubbish on the touchline. But it's definitely getting better. But what I'm seeing with the football is it seems to be the same teams that have crap parents that are getting over vocal, interacting with the players, giving instructions from the touchline, and at the top of their voice as well. And I think that really, yes, it is the parents' fault, because they're the ones that are shouting, but a certain part of me thinks that's down to the club, because that's an ethos.
I think it is, and I think this is what the RFU again have been particularly good at. The ethos being that in a club situation, the club has to enforce a code of conduct amongst its parents. And I would say that the majority of clubs, there are exceptions, but the majority of clubs have done that successfully. And, well done the RFU for insisting that behaviour on the touchline, respect for the referee, respect for the players as well. I mean, some of the things I've heard sort of levelled at players from parents, at kiddies or, 9 or 10, just really out of order. But I think that has actually, again, gone out the game primarily because of the leadership that we have had from Twickenham. The only thing I would say, what was also in this study, they highlighted something which doesn't exist over here, or not in a similar form, was that that sports business is arranging tournaments for a variety of sports is in fact a £15 billion industry.
Yeah.
In fact, they made the comment that in fact there's more money goes into that in America than actually goes into the Premiership in this country.
Yeah,
I mean, I found that hard to believe, but evidently it is
Did you
the
see that
case.
photograph of the car park?
Yeah, I mean, it was phenomenal at a tournament, a soccer tournament. But at the back of the parent's mind, and obviously any parent wants the best for their child.
They want to see them picked up, don't
Yeah, they do. And in America, it's through the college system. So they're looking at scholarships to the top universities, top colleges, where a specific sport is actually taken very, very seriously. You know, might be American football, might be soccer, might be basketball, whatever. And they feel that there's the colleges themselves and the actual governing bodies of these sports tend to mislead the parents about pushing their kids into an elite standard of that specific sport. Well, I think to a certain extent we've got to be very careful over here with the ACE scheme.
The ACE scheme, yeah.
I do feel that you know, the clubs lose so many players. They go to a college, a recognised ACE college, where, or you can't play for your club. You know, you're here now. You're going to be picked up by you're under the auspices of London Irish or Wasps, etc. Whoever it is, and you know they're looking at you as professional players. Well, you know, let's be quite honest, it'll be 1 in 100 who makes it. But I don't think that's related to the parents. I mean, I've had first-hand experience where parents have perhaps put the child's education behind the idea to actually progress in rugby. And I think I think rugby has to be very, very careful of that. And I think we need to see high standards set by the Premiership clubs who run these schemes, and also the RFU.
And there's got to be, I think, more emphasis on measuring, looking after expectations, managing expectations.
When in fact they don't make it, and this I think we are specifically weak on in the game, and that I think is our own. That is our major difficulty when we fail to keep some of these boys who have not made it in the game.
Yeah, because they get let down. It's like a balloon with all the air disappearing off out of it. You would like to think they get managed back to their club and stroked and sort of pushed back in the right direction, build their self-esteem up. But I've got first-hand knowledge of 3 or 4 of them not playing anymore.
No, and the same with me. And I think that is throughout the game. Okay, there are clubs who do take that seriously, Premiership clubs. But I would say, and I hate to say it, that's a minority, but it would be interesting now to get your feedback on that, about coaching children, about supporting them, and also about the ACE schemes and those players who have ambition to go into the professional game. I mean, your views would be very much welcome, and we'd certainly like to discuss them going forward.
Thanks very much. Cheers.